Dear Libra soul, this week, someone may knock on your door and it might not be just a visitor. It could be a police officer. It could be a letter from the court. Or it could be something far more mysterious. A moment of divine justice, the return of a truth long buried. One way or another, what's been hidden will be revealed. You are here for a reason. And whether you arrived through curiosity, intuition, or divine timing, you need to hear this. The universe is calling on you to face something that can no longer stay in the shadows. Let me ask you something directly. What would you do if the police showed up at your door today? Would you feel fear? Or relief? Would you feel guilt? Or vindication? Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. This is not just another zodiac reading. This is a spiritual checkpoint, a sacred moment between you and the cosmos, offering insight, warning, and guidance at a time when Pluto, Mercury retrograde, and your fourth astrological house, governing family, roots, and hidden truths, are all aligning in a powerful and personal way. This reading is for Libra, and it covers the critical dates of September 27th to October 3, a time when karmic cycles may close, secrets may surface, and divine timing may manifest in the form of messengers, events, or even officials knocking on your literal or metaphorical door. Don't be alarmed. This isn't about punishment. It's about purpose. And when spiritual forces move this clearly, it means you're being called into alignment with truth, healing, and personal power. What you're about to hear might shake you, but it is meant to strengthen you. Because truth is not always gentle. But it is always liberating. You see, Libra, when the angels knock, they don't always whisper. Sometimes they show up in the form of a confrontation, a contract, or a conversation you've avoided for far too long. Sometimes, God uses unexpected vessels to deliver His light. And yes, sometimes that light starts with a knock. So take a deep breath. This message is not here to scare you. It's here to prepare you. Before we begin, I want to pause and express my deepest gratitude to you. Every like, every share, every thoughtful comment, every subscriber brings you deeper into this spiritual circle, and allows us to keep delivering truth-filled, soul-anchoring messages like this one. Thank you for being part of this sacred journey. You are the reason this channel exists. And believe me, Libra, you'll want to stay with me until the very end of this reading, because what the stars are revealing now is astonishing. This is more than just prediction. It's revelation. It's alignment. It's an invitation to return to the truth of who you are and to step into a week where what you once feared may actually set you free. Now tell me, my loyal Libras, what led you here today? Was it a dream? A hunch? A whisper from spirit? Type "I'm ready for the truth" in the comments to claim your alignment and anchor this moment into your energy field. Let the universe know, you are not running, you are awakening. Stay with me. What comes next will shake the ground beneath your feet and help you rise stronger than ever. Let's begin. It doesn't always begin with drama or noise. Sometimes, it starts with a whisper inside your own home. During this particular period, from September 27th to October 3rd, Libra is being gently but firmly pulled into alignment by two powerful celestial forces, Pluto, the planet of transformation, and Mercury, retrograding through the most sensitive corner of your astrological chart, your fourth house. This is the house of home, roots, childhood memories, and the walls that both protect and contain us. When these planets activate this house simultaneously, the universe is no longer asking politely. It's insisting, look within. This energy doesn't seek to embarrass or destroy, it seeks to reveal what has long been buried. And often, what's buried isn't just secrets from others, but truths we've denied ourselves, emotional wounds from childhood, unspoken resentment, repressed grief, or that deep intuitive knowing you've silenced to keep the peace. You may begin to feel a restless stir inside the walls of your home, or within your relationships with family members, like a quiet tension building, one that can no longer be smoothed over with surface-level calm. This is not punishment. It's liberation. It's the universe saying, what you won't confront will begin confronting you. When Pluto touches this house, it brings X-ray vision. You may start to see through lies, evasions, or manipulative dynamics in your domestic sphere. Mercury retrograde amplifies this by making miscommunications unavoidable. Words will slip. Emotions will surface. Truths will leak through tone and timing. Whether it's a document accidentally left out, a conversation overheard, or a sudden confession from someone in your home, be prepared for light to hit the shadow. This is the moment to turn inward rather than panic. One of the most powerful things you can do right now is to begin writing down what you're feeling, especially those feelings that are hard to admit. Keep a private journal. Don't filter yourself. The act of naming your internal experience is a sacred one. Not because anyone else will read it, but because truth, when spoken to oneself, begins to loosen the fear it once held. It's also a powerful time to pause for stillness. Sit quietly with your breath. Ask yourself, what am I not allowing myself to feel right now? You'd be surprised how much of the outer chaos we experience is simply a mirror of what we're holding back inside. The truth doesn't always arrive like lightning, it can come softly. But once it enters your awareness, it won't leave you unchanged. You don't need to fix everything in 1 week. But this is the time to notice. To listen. To prepare. Because clarity is coming whether you're ready or not. And the more you choose to co-create with this process rather than resist it, the more grace you will experience in the unfolding. There's a kind of divine choreography in all of this. Sometimes God moves quietly behind the scenes, waiting for us to make space for Him to reveal what's next. This might be that moment for you. And if you've prayed recently for guidance, protection, or a sign, you may be surprised to discover that the answer doesn't come through angelic choirs, but through an awkward family conversation, an unexpected knock at the door, or even a breakdown in communication that forces a long overdue breakthrough. You're not falling apart. You're being rerouted. And the discomfort you may feel now is not failure, it's your soul stretching toward a life that can hold more light, more peace, more truth. Let the walls speak. Let the silence teach you. And trust that even when the truth shakes your foundations, it's building something far stronger underneath. Sometimes the knock on the door is real. Sometimes it's a letter, a phone call, an unexpected email from a place of authority, legal, governmental, financial. And sometimes, that knock doesn't come from outside at all, but from within. A nudge in your spirit. A restless tension in your chest. A feeling that something is coming to the surface and it's no longer willing to stay hidden. In this energy, Libra, the symbolism of the police knocking at your door isn't simply about fear or consequence. It's about revelation. It's about being summoned not by fear but by truth. What happens when truth comes to collect what's long been overdue? When the weight of avoidance becomes heavier than the cost of facing something head-on? You see, the idea of a knock isn't just about someone arriving to accuse or punish. It can also be the universe sending you a message that it's time to be honest with others, yes, but most importantly, with yourself. You may find that situations you thought were behind you are suddenly resurfacing. Conversations you've delayed might press their way forward. You could feel backed into a corner, not because life is being cruel, but because you've outgrown the version of you that needed to hide. And here's something important to remember: the longer something remains in the dark, the more power it seems to have. But the truth is, what's exposed to the light begins to lose its ability to control you. That's why this moment isn't a punishment, it's a clearing. A sacred release. And while it might be uncomfortable, it's also one of the most liberating shifts you can go through. There are true stories of people who, after years of hiding pain, shame, secrets, suddenly find the courage to speak, and their entire lives change. Not just because of what they said, but because they finally chose to no longer be defined by silence. I once knew a woman who carried a secret for 17 years, terrified it would destroy her family if it came out. But when she finally told the truth tearfully, shaking, terrified, what happened wasn't collapse. It was healing. Her family didn't fall apart. They came together. And she later said it was the first time in nearly 2 decades she could breathe fully. That's what this week may symbolize for you. A chance to breathe more freely if you're willing to let go of what you've been holding in. Maybe you're not hiding a massive secret. Maybe it's just a fear you've pushed aside. A conversation you've avoided. A pattern you know you need to change. Whatever it is, the knock is the invitation. You don't have to open the door all the way today. But crack it open. Let the light in. Even if it's just a little. Let me encourage you with something soft but honest. You don't have to be perfect to be transparent. You don't have to be fearless to take the first step. You just need to be willing. And willing is enough. Even Jesus reminded his followers that nothing hidden stays hidden forever, not as a threat, but as a call toward freedom. Sometimes grace wears the disguise of disruption. So if something or someone shows up this week to confront you, to ask questions, or to stir emotion, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, what truth am I finally ready to face? Because if you're honest with yourself first, the rest will unfold more gently. And you just might find that what you feared the most was actually your doorway to peace. You might start to notice that some opportunities this week feel just a little too good to be true. And perhaps they are. With Jupiter forming a 10th square to Pluto, your financial and relational landscape becomes a terrain filled with both hidden treasures and cleverly disguised traps. This is the kind of astrological alignment that often tempts us with big promises, quick wins, miracle returns, or sudden financial breakthroughs, but beneath that glitter, there's complexity. There's karmic cost. The energy surrounding Libra right now is expansive but volatile, especially when it comes to trust, contracts, and the people you let into your energetic field. If something feels off, it probably is. Even if the presentation seems polished, even if it comes from someone you think you know, listen to your inner compass. When Jupiter and Pluto activate this way, it's common for schemes, shady partnerships, or borrowed influence to make their way into your world, wearing a mask of opportunity. You may be asked to co-sign, to lend your name or your resources to something you didn't fully research. This is not the week to say yes too quickly. It's the week to say, let me think about it, more often than you usually do. Beyond money, this energy can show up inside the walls of your home. Conversations with loved ones may suddenly take on a new tone, more pressure, more urgency, more persuasion. Especially with children or those under your roof, there may be a subtle shift in how influence is being handled. Someone you care about could be under the influence of a friend or outside energy that doesn't have their best interest at heart. The challenge is to intervene with wisdom, not control. To guide, not dominate. You don't need to scare anyone straight, but you do need to speak up if your intuition is flashing red. And while we're talking about red flags, let's not ignore your own patterns either. If you've ever struggled with overgiving, overinvesting, or being the rescuer, this week may test your boundaries. That's why now is the time to write down 3 clear financial or relational boundaries that you will not cross, no matter how compelling the request may seem. It could be as simple as, I will not lend money without a written agreement, or I will not be pressured into joint decisions without time to process. Boundaries don't make you selfish. They make you wise. They preserve your peace. In moments like this, I often recall stories of people who learned these lessons the hard way through bankruptcy, betrayal, or simply burnout from always saying yes. But there are also miracles that come from honoring your limits. One woman I worked with recently had been constantly bailing out her adult son, emotionally and financially. She finally set a boundary, not out of anger, but from a place of love. That very same week, he stepped up, found a job, and told her it was the first time he'd ever felt like she believed in his ability to survive without her. Sometimes boundaries aren't walls, theory bridges. So take this time seriously, but not fearfully. The cosmos isn't out to punish you. It's here to sharpen your discernment, to fine-tune your ability to say no when needed, and to reclaim your right to financial and emotional stability. You are not obligated to fund everyone else's vision. You're not here to hold up broken systems just because you love the people in them. You're here to lead with clarity. And clarity comes when you pause, observe, and give yourself permission to honor what you know deep down. Not all open doors are meant to be walked through. Some are simply meant to be noticed and passed by. There's a moment in every soul's journey where silence becomes heavier than truth, where avoidance becomes more exhausting than honesty. And if you've been feeling that quiet internal weight, like something in your spirit is pressing against the walls of your heart, trying to breathe, this might be that moment for you, Libra. In the energy surrounding you now, the message is crystal clear. You are loved, yes, but not to stay hidden. You are seen, yes, but not to continue walking in quiet regret. And you are being called not out of judgment, but out of grace. Finally step out of what you've been emotionally carrying alone. When I tune into the frequency of this week, I sense the presence of what I can only describe as a cleansing wave. This isn't the kind of wave that crashes down suddenly. It's the kind that rises gently, like a tide washing away the debris that no longer belongs in your emotional shoreline. It asks for one thing: willingness. The willingness to forgive, even if it's just a little. The willingness to tell the truth, even if your voice shakes. The willingness to clean the space around you so the space within you can breathe too. You don't need to make a grand gesture to begin. Sometimes the most powerful clearing rituals start with something as simple as lighting a candle and sitting with your thoughts. Ask yourself, What part of me have I been keeping in the shadows, not because it's ugly, but because I was afraid it wouldn't be understood? Let that question hang in the room with you. Sometimes the answers that rise aren't loud. They arrive in the soft, almost whispers of clarity. Energetic cleansing isn't just a metaphysical concept, it's deeply practical. The objects in your home hold vibrations. The corners of your space carry memory. The items you've held onto, just in case, may actually be tied to a version of you that no longer exists. Open the windows. Let the air move. Burn sage or incense if you feel called. Wash the sheets. Sweep the floors. And while you're doing it, speak this quietly to yourself. As I clean my home, I make space for peace. As I let go of clutter, I release what no longer serves my highest path. There's something almost holy about preparing a space to welcome healing. I've seen people experience emotional release just by rearranging their furniture, or breaking down in tears after finally donating something tied to a past chapter. Not because the thing itself had power, but because the act of letting go allowed their body to finally exhale. That's what this phase is offering you now. The chance to finally exhale. I once worked with a woman who had held on to a handwritten letter from someone who deeply hurt her. She didn't reread it. She didn't keep it out in the open. But it lived in a box at the back of her closet for over a decade. When she finally decided to release it, she told me it was the first time she truly slept through the night in years. Not because the memory vanished, but because the energy tied to it no longer controlled her space. You don't need to burn bridges. You just need to stop letting your pain live rent-free in your energy field. Write down what you're ready to release. Light a small candle. Read it aloud. And as you burn the paper, say softly, I choose peace. I choose light. I give this to the fire, and I make room for joy. The divine doesn't ask for perfection, only honesty. And when you offer that honesty, not just in your words, but in your actions and your space, life responds. The clarity you've prayed for? It begins with the first thing you're willing to let go. When the stars shift, we often expect something dramatic to happen, but more often, the shift is internal before it ever becomes visible. That's exactly what this upcoming celestial movement is asking of you, Libra. It's inviting you into a deeper alignment with your own emotional truth, through a quiet but powerful current of energy that begins with the Scorpio moon from September 27th to 29th. When the moon travels through Scorpio, it doesn't skim the surface. It dives beneath, stirring what's hidden, calling up intuition, asking you to trust your inner voice over the noise of the outside world. And for someone like you naturally drawn toward balance and harmony, that depth might feel like a challenge. But here's the truth: clarity often comes after you allow yourself to feel what's uncomfortable. During this time, if something feels off, even if you can't explain it yet, don't ignore it. Intuition speaks in whispers before it screams. That small discomfort, that hunch you can't shake, it's not paranoia. It's preparation. Take note of dreams. Journal your inner nudges. You're being offered divine insight if you're willing to listen. And don't be surprised if your spirit starts calling you inward, away from distractions, towards solitude, or back to an old feeling you never fully addressed. You don't need to analyze it right away. Just allow it. That alone will begin a clearing. Then, as we move into September 30th and October 1st, Pluto's energy intensifies as it activates your financial house. In astrology, Pluto brings deep transformation, and when it touches anything related to money or family legacy, it can feel like something long buried suddenly rises to the surface. This might look like a financial truth you hadn't fully faced, an old debt or pattern of spending that's no longer aligned, or even an unexpected revelation in your family dynamic that changes how you see your role in the system. If something comes to light, don't resist it. This isn't about shame. It's about understanding what was hidden so you can move forward without dragging the past behind you. Sometimes, what's revealed isn't just external, it's an inner decision you've been avoiding. Maybe it's time to stop managing other people's emotions at the cost of your own peace. Maybe it's time to speak your truth about money, responsibility, or emotional burdens you've carried too long. Either way, Pluto never takes away what's truly meant for you. It only removes what stands between you and your transformation. And finally, from October 2nd to 3rd, we approach a new moon, a time astrologically symbolic of fresh starts. But you cannot fully welcome the new without closing the door on the old. That's why the days just before a new moon are so powerful. You're standing in the energetic space between an ending and a beginning. And in that space, there's freedom to release what no longer fits. You might feel a strong urge to declutter your physical space or to say something that brings closure. Follow it. Even if it feels small, symbolic actions carry powerful intention. As we talk about closure and alignment, let's bring in tools that support your clarity. The color navy blue will keep you grounded this week. It connects to the root chakra, offering stability and focus. Gold accents or soft golden light can also help you tune into your own worth, especially when navigating financial decisions or emotional revelations. And if you work with numbers or symbols, lean into the energy of 4 and 9. 4 will help you create strong foundations. 9 will support you in completing cycles with grace. You don't need to do everything at once. You just need to trust the rhythm that's unfolding. A door is gently closing, but another is beginning to open, and what waits on the other side is built on truth, peace, and power. Let the stars guide you there. If you've made it to this point, Libra, then you already know something bigger is unfolding around you. Maybe you felt it as a whisper, or maybe it's come through like a storm. Either way, the knocking you've been sensing? It's not there to bring fear. It's there to bring truth. And truth, as uncomfortable as it may feel at first, is the beginning of every real breakthrough. You weren't brought here by coincidence. You were called here because some part of you is finally ready to face what's been lingering in the shadows, be it in your finances, your home, your relationships, or your own heart. I want you to pause for a moment and ask yourself, what truth have I been avoiding? What clarity am I finally ready to receive, even if it changes everything? Because here's the thing, what you're willing to confront today has the power to free you tomorrow. This isn't about guilt, or shame, or punishment. This is about reclaiming your power in a space where confusion used to live. This is about recognizing that when someone or something knocks, whether it's a revelation, a consequence, or a blessing in disguise, you get to choose how you show up. You get to choose whether you answer the door with fear, or with the calm of someone who has already chosen light. Remember, the message of this week is not one of crisis. It's one of clarity. And clarity always demands one thing from you, presence. Presence in your decision-making. Presence in your boundaries. presence in your healing. And yes, presence even when it feels easier to withdraw. The universe, your inner wisdom, and everything you've learned until now is guiding you not to escape but to rise. To clean out the old. To say what needs to be said. To no longer pretend you're fine when you're not. To no longer allow your worth to be tied to anyone else's approval or validation. You are allowed to leave behind anything that asks you to shrink. You are allowed to reset the energy of your home, your money, your relationships, and your emotional truth. You are allowed to let go of what was and welcome what could be. No permission needed. Just presence. So, if you're still watching, I want to thank you. Truly. Every like, every comment, every time you share these videos or hit subscribe. You're not just helping this channel grow. You're helping this community of light seekers, this space we've built at Zodiac Whisper Tarot, continue to reach the people who need these messages the most. And if this spoke to you, if something within you stirred as I spoke, please don't just scroll away. Let this land. Let it activate something deeper. Now tell me, Libra, what door are you ready to open? What truth are you ready to receive? What part of your life needs the light you've been withholding? Leave a comment below that says, I'm ready to receive the truth. I choose light. And if you felt this message was for you, hit that like button. Subscribe for more, because this is just the beginning of your realignment. And maybe, just maybe, share this with someone you love who might be standing at their own doorway right now, unsure whether to open it. Because the truth? It's not here to hurt you. It's here to set you free. And you, dear Libra, are more than ready.